Welcome, dearly beloved anointed ones. When the universe marks you as untouchable, every enemy feels it before you do. That's not just a poetic line. That's a spiritual fact wrapped in a warning label. And the moment your protection got classified as a level 7 priority, trust me, something in the atmosphere shifted. Not the dramatic movie kind where thunder rolls and the lights flicker. No, this one was quiet, surgical, and calculated, the way a door locks behind you without you even touching it. The type of shift where people who once walked into your life casually now feel like they're approaching a building secured by retinal scanners. Here's the reality. Most people have no clue how spiritual systems operate. They think protection is about avoiding drama or cutting people off. Nah, level 7 is a whole different league. This is the point where the universe stops treating you like a participant and starts treating you like a classified asset. And when that happens, the people who once underestimated you suddenly experience the energetic equivalent of trying to message someone whose number has been disconnected. Not by accident, but by divine authority. A strange thing happens at this level. People who wronged you start acting confused, nervous, jumpy, or overly friendly, as if they can feel something is coming, but can't quite name it. It's like when someone knows they've done something wrong and suddenly becomes the friendliest human on earth, almost suspiciously friendly. Hey, long time. Sir, relax. You weren't this excited when you had access. And here's the suspense-filled twist most folks miss. Whenever someone reaches level 7 protection, the universe doesn't just shield them, it exposes everyone else. Suddenly, intentions become louder than words. Jealousy becomes more visible than behavior. And lies? They age in public like milk left under the sun. But the real shocker is this. The moment your protection upgraded, the people who tried to play games with you became characters in a story they can no longer control. Your energy got restricted to authorized personnel only, and the ones who tried to exploit you weren't on the list. Now they're scrambling, guessing, checking, and wondering why everything they do backfires like an old car on a cold morning. So let's break down exactly what a level 7 priority truly means, and why the people who mishandled you are suddenly sweating like they've got secrets the universe is about to read out loud. Number 1. A level 7 shield means their access to you has been cut at the root. When your protection is raised to a level 7 shield, it's not about you blocking someone. It's about life stepping in and doing the blocking for you. This kind of protection doesn't wait for you to get tired, fed up, or emotionally drained. It cuts ties at the root, not at the branches. People who once had free access to your mind, emotions, or personal space suddenly feel shut out without you having to say a single word. Your spirit closed the gates long before your mouth had the chance to explain why. What makes level 7 different is the finality of it. There's no back and forth, no reconsidering, no, maybe they've changed. The access they used to have is simply gone. They can knock, but the door doesn't respond. They can reach out, but the connection doesn't go through. They can try to stir drama, but the energy doesn't land. It's not resistance, it's redirection. The universe rerouted you away from anything or anyone that could pull you backwards, and it did it in a way that even you can't undo. You start noticing the signs. You feel lighter without having to force anything. Certain people just don't influence your mood anymore. Their name doesn't spark emotion. Their opinions don't sting. Their presence doesn't shake you. That's because their access wasn't removed emotionally. It was removed spiritually. They're trying to reconnect through the old doors, but those doors aren't attached to your life anymore. And the most surprising part? They can feel this shift too, even if they never admit it. People know when they've lost access to someone they once mishandled. They sense the distance. They sense the elevation. They sense the protection around you tightening like security around a VIP guest. It's not you acting too good. It's life refusing to let them drain you again. This kind of protection isn't soft. It's precise. It removes threats before you even see them. It shuts down energies that no longer match yours. It silences chaos without warning. A level 7 shield is the universe saying, enough. They don't get to touch you anymore. Number 2, their manipulation techniques are now flagged on sight. When your protection upgrades to a level 7 priority, one of the biggest shifts happens in how your spirit reads people. The tactics that once slipped past your awareness can't get through anymore. Their manipulation doesn't hit you the way it used to, because your intuition has become sharper, faster, and less forgiving. You can now recognize a guilt trip before the sentence is even finished. You can sense emotional games from the tone of someone's message. You feel the energy behind their words more clearly than the words themselves. There's no confusion left for them to hide inside. The truth is, manipulators depend on your hesitation. They rely on your empathy, your patience, your willingness to doubt yourself. But when you've reached this level of protection, those old vulnerabilities aren't open doors anymore. They're sealed. Your clarity works like an alert system. You can feel when someone is trying to twist a narrative. You notice when someone shifts blame. You catch the half-truths behind their stories. Nothing about their strategy feels convincing or powerful anymore. It feels predictable. And that's what frustrates them the most. They can sense that the tools they use to control you, silence, guilt, passive aggression, emotional pressure, sudden friendliness, no longer move you. Their tricks feel outdated, like they're using an expired password. The dynamic has flipped. Instead of you doubting yourself, they're the ones panicking, wondering why their usual methods fall flat. A level 7 shield exposes their intentions before they even act on them. You feel the shift in their energy before they say the wrong thing. You see the motive before they present the plan. And your spirit simply refuses to engage. You walk away not because you're rude or cold, but because your intuition doesn't negotiate with manipulation anymore. This upgraded awareness protects your peace without needing explanations or arguments. It stops confusion at the door. It keeps your emotions clean and your decisions clear. And the people who depended on your blind spots now find themselves standing in front of someone who sees through them instantly. Their power over you isn't just broken, it's obsolete. Number 3, their words no longer carry weight because they've lost authority over your mind. One of the most liberating parts of reaching a level 7 protection is how effortlessly your mind detaches from the opinions of people who once had too much influence. Their words used to cut, shake, confuse, or linger in your thoughts because you valued their validation more than you realized. You trusted their voice at times when you didn't fully trust your own. But once that higher protection activates, something in you shifts for good. Their authority over your inner world collapses, and their voice loses the power it once had. It's not that they stop talking, it's that their comments don't land. They don't echo. They don't replay in your mind the way they used to. It's like your spirit quietly changed the settings inside you and lowered their volume to almost nothing. You hear what they say, but it no longer shapes your choices or mood. You don't take their tone personally. You don't internalize their insults or manipulations. You don't let their opinion sit in your mind as if it's some kind of truth. Their influence died the moment you reclaimed your mental territory. The interesting part is that they can feel this change. People know when their words no longer control someone. They notice when you don't react the way you used to. They sense your emotional distance, your lack of fear, your calmness in moments where you once would have been defensive. This loss of psychological power unsettles them more than anything else. Not because they care about you changing, but because they depended on your uncertainty to maintain control. Level 7 protection restores your confidence in your own judgment. You trust your thoughts more, your intuition more, your decisions more. You don't look outside yourself for direction or clarity. Their commentary becomes irrelevant because your spirit is no longer under their supervision. Once that mental freedom sets in, their attempts to influence you look desperate, outdated, and almost laughable. Their voice no longer decides your path, your own voice finally does. Number 4, their karma has been rerouted back to its source. When your protection rises to a level 7 priority, one of the biggest unseen shifts is how energy moves around you. The negativity, jealousy, and hidden attacks people use to send your way no longer attach themselves to your life. Instead, everything they project circles right back to them with unnerving speed. This isn't revenge, it's not punishment. It's simply the universe putting responsibility exactly where it belongs. And for many of the people who mistreated you, this is the moment everything they buried starts resurfacing in their own lives. For the longest time, you absorbed energy that wasn't yours. You took on their frustration, their guilt, their blame, their insecurities. You felt heavy without knowing why. Their actions affected you more than they should have because your spirit was wide open, compassionate, and unguarded. But when you reach this level of protection, that era ends. The universe stops allowing you to suffer from storms you didn't create. It builds a barrier that separates your journey from their chaos. Now, when they speak poorly of you, life places that same heaviness on their own shoulders. When they try to sabotage you, the sabotage redirects back into their plans. When they wish bad outcomes for you, they unknowingly activate those outcomes for themselves. You're no longer the landing space for their projections. Every dart they throw now returns to the address it came from. And here's the twist. They feel it. They might not say it out loud, but they know something shifted. They know the games don't hit you anymore. They know the negativity doesn't touch you the way it used to. They know the energy they once dumped on you is now weighing heavily on their own lives. Their conscience becomes louder. Their actions feel heavier. Their excuses don't work the way they used to. Level 7 protection forces people to deal with themselves. It turns their intentions into mirrors. It makes them face the harm they caused without having you as a shield to absorb the impact. And the truth hits them harder than anything you could ever say. The damage they planned wasn't your downfall, it was their own. Number 5, they're not allowed to witness your next breakthrough. When your protection reaches a level 7 priority, life becomes selective about who gets a front row seat to your progress. Not everyone who was present in your struggle is allowed access to your success. At this level, your breakthroughs become classified. Your blessings become need-to-know information. And the people who mishandled you, doubted you, mocked you, or quietly rooted against you get locked out of the viewing area, even if they're still trying to peek through the cracks. This doesn't mean you're hiding. It means your spirit refuses to shine in places where the energy is wrong. Your elevation happens behind spiritual privacy settings. You glow, but not for those who misused the light. They sense something is shifting around you, but the details stay blurry. It bothers them not because they want you to win, but because they're afraid your success will expose everything they failed to do in their own lives. Level 7 protection doesn't just protect you from harm, it protects your growth from interference. There are people who would drain, sabotage, or distort your blessings without even meaning to. Some would downplay your progress. Some would steal credit. Some would twist it into jealousy. The universe isn't risking any of that. Your next breakthrough is sealed away from anyone who ever treated you as less than what you were becoming. What's ironic is that these same people might suddenly show interest when they feel the shift. They become overly curious, asking indirect questions or trying to reconnect just to check where your life is heading. But the answers never reach them. Life blocks their access the same way a locked phone blocks an old password. They get rumors, not details. They feel your glow up, but they don't get the satisfaction of watching it unfold. This is the universe's way of honoring your growth. Your next chapter is too valuable to be tainted by those who never supported your previous chapters. And whether they admit it or not, being shut out hits them harder than your success itself. Because now they're forced to watch from a distance, knowing the blessing they don't get to witness is the blessing they'll never get to touch. Number 6, their power over your emotions has been revoked permanently. When your protection rises to a level 7 priority, something major shifts in how you process people. The emotional influence certain individuals once had over you dissolves almost overnight. The reactions that used to come automatically don't show up anymore. The anxiety they triggered doesn't spark. The tension you used to feel around them is gone. It's like your spirit quietly unplugged the cord that connected their behavior to your emotional state. And without that cord, they simply don't have the power they once held. This change isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle but life-changing. You start noticing that the things they say no longer pierce your mood. Their tone doesn't shake your confidence. Their disapproval doesn't make you shrink. Their attempts to push your buttons fail because you're no longer wired for their drama. You've outgrown the emotional patterns that kept you entangled with them. And once that happens, there's no going back. The truth is, people often rely on your emotional sensitivity to stay relevant in your life. They know how to make you feel guilty. They know what to say to trigger doubt. They know how to play the victim to pull you back in. But when level 7 protection kicks in, your emotional boundaries mature to the point where their tactics simply don't work anymore. They're trying to play games on a field you no longer stand on. Their influence fades because your spirit isn't giving them access. What really gets to them is the calmness you show. You're not arguing. You're not explaining. You're not reacting the way they expect. You're unbothered in a way that makes them question their own importance. They realize the connection they once used to manipulate you has been severed, and they can't fix it because they never controlled it in the first place. It was your empathy that gave them influence, and that empathy is no longer wasted on them. Level 7 protection gives you emotional independence. You stop carrying other people's moods. You stop apologizing for their insecurities. You stop absorbing their issues as if they were your own. And once you reach that point, their emotional power becomes nothing more than a tactic that no longer has a target. They lost control the moment you stopped reacting, and that's a loss they feel far more deeply than they'll ever admit. Number 7, their attempts to re-enter your life will now humiliate them. When your protection reaches a level 7 priority, the door to your life doesn't just close for certain people. It locks in a way that exposes their intentions if they try to come back. Every attempt they make to re-enter your world is met with resistance that highlights who they truly are. It's not you embarrassing them. It's not you trying to shame them. Life itself handles the accountability. The same charm or manipulation they used before suddenly looks awkward, transparent, and almost desperate. At this level, the universe doesn't allow sly entrances or subtle returns. Anyone who tries to slip back into your space gets caught in their own words. Their messages sound forced. Their excuses sound rehearsed. Their sudden friendliness comes across as suspicious instead of welcoming. The attempts that would have worked on you before now expose their true motive, and they end up revealing more than they planned. They can't finesse their way back, because that access has been spiritually revoked. You've grown too much for their old tactics, and life won't let them pretend otherwise. They feel the shift before you even respond. They sense that their presence no longer carries weight. They pick up on the fact that you're not emotionally available for their stories, their drama, or their fake apologies. And because they expected you to still be the person they once controlled, the disconnect shocks them. Their humiliation comes from the realization that they don't matter in your narrative anymore. They're no longer part of your emotional system. They can't guilt you into giving them another chance. They can't manipulate you into revisiting old wounds. They can't use nostalgia to pull you back into cycles you've outgrown. Their attempts hit a wall, and the wall reflects their intentions right back at them. What really stings is the silence, not the cold type, just the silence that naturally comes from someone who has moved on. They're left watching you live, grow, heal, and elevate without them, understanding fully that re-entry is not possible. The same universe that once gave them access now denies them at the gate, and every attempt to come back only highlights how deeply they lost what they once took for granted. Number 8. Your absence has become more powerful than your presence ever was. When your protection reaches a level 7 priority, the way your absence affects people becomes dramatically different. Before, when you stepped away from someone's life, they felt it mildly. Maybe a little inconvenience, a little guilt, a little confusion. But now, your absence hits with a weight that unsettles them. They don't just notice you're gone. They feel the consequences of losing access to someone who brought clarity, stability, and a unique energy they can't replace with anyone else. Your absence becomes a mirror. It shows people the parts of themselves they were able to hide while you were around. The kindness you gave becomes more obvious when it's no longer present. The support you offered becomes noticeable when it's missing. The peace you provided stands out now that they're back in environments filled with drama, noise, or inconsistency. Your role becomes clearer once you're no longer in the picture. And for many of them, that's when reality hits the hardest. People who thought you were easy to replace now find themselves searching for someone who brings the same presence, only to realize they can't. They try to fill the gap with distractions, other people, or even arrogance. But the absence doesn't ease. It continues reminding them of the difference you made without trying. And that reminder stings because it's undeniable. Your absence forces them to sit with their choices. It shows them how they mishandled someone who was genuinely there for them. It exposes how much they depended on your emotional strength. It makes them face the truth that your presence was stabilizing them far more than they ever admitted. What makes this even more powerful is that your absence isn't out of anger. It's out of evolution. You didn't walk away to punish them. You simply outgrew the environment where they were comfortable keeping you small. And the universe supports that growth by making your absence echo loudly in the lives of those who took you for granted. The power of your absence becomes their lesson. The silence they receive from you carries more truth than any conversation you could have ever had. And slowly, they begin to understand that losing someone protected at this level isn't just a loss, it's a wake-up call. Number 9. Their secrets start slipping out because they're no longer spiritually covered. When your protection is raised to a level 7 priority, one of the most shocking shifts is how the truth around you begins to unfold without you lifting a finger. People who once hid their intentions, their lies, their jealousy, and their real motives, suddenly find it harder to keep those things buried. It's not that you go digging for information. It's that the spiritual covering they used to operate under is gone. The same protection that shielded them while they played games with you gets removed the moment you detach. And when that covering lifts, truth spills. At this level, hidden conversations get exposed in the most unexpected ways. Someone slips up in a sentence. A friend tells you something they shouldn't even know. A pattern repeats itself too clearly to ignore. People start revealing their own involvement without realizing it. It's as if the universe pulls every mask off, one string at a time, leaving their intentions out in the open where even they can't deny them. This happens because your elevation forces a shift in the spiritual environment. As you move higher, the energy around you becomes too clear and too strong for deceit to survive. Lies feel out of place. Manipulation becomes obvious. Fake loyalty stands out. Everything they tried to hide starts leaking into the open because darkness can't stay hidden. When someone protected at your level comes into their truth, they notice this too. People who once acted bold around you suddenly become jumpy, cautious, or overly polite. They're terrified of being exposed because deep down, they know the spiritual shield they relied on has been removed. They're more worried about their secrets coming out than they are about apologizing or making things right. Their fear has nothing to do with losing you. It has everything to do with being seen for who they truly are. Level 7. Protection makes dishonesty impossible to maintain. It forces accountability without confrontation. It reveals motives without arguments. It exposes truth without you having to seek it. And the most unsettling part for them is knowing that you didn't expose them. The universe simply stopped protecting the version of them they pretended to be. Number 10. They didn't just hurt you. They studied your breaking point. There's a level of betrayal that doesn't come from impulsive choices or heated emotions. It comes from calculation. It comes from people who watched you closely, not because they cared, but because they wanted to know exactly where your boundary was, exactly where your strength thinned, and exactly which wound would cause the deepest collapse. These are the people who didn't just hurt you. They studied your breaking point like it was a strategy, like your pain was some kind of blueprint they needed to master. What makes this so shocking is that they didn't attack you head-on. They didn't go for the obvious moves. They went for the subtle ones, the small dismissals, the quiet disrespect, the slow tightening of control, the little tricks that made you doubt your own instincts. They wanted you exhausted, not just wounded. They wanted your spirit shaky, not just your emotions. They wanted to break you without looking like they did anything. That's a level of intention that cuts deeper than any loud betrayal ever could. And the strangest part, they were patient. They waited for the right moment, the right vulnerability, the right distraction. They waited until you were tired, hopeful, or trying to rebuild something in your life. They wanted the collapse to feel internal, so you would blame yourself. That's why their guilt is so heavy today, because deep down they know they didn't just mess up. They engineered harm, they crafted the moment. But here's where everything flipped. You didn't collapse. You cracked, but you didn't crumble. You bent, but you didn't break. You still woke up. You still healed. You still rose. You stood in the exact place they thought you'd fall apart, and you built something stronger from it. And now they're terrified. Not of you, but of the truth. Because once someone realizes they should have never studied your breaking point, they also realize you've now discovered theirs. Your resilience exposed every motive they tried to hide. Your survival became the proof they hoped would never surface. And your comeback, that became the very thing they can't control, can't stop, and can't ever prepare for. Number 11, they're terrified. Because you never turned into the monster. They swore you were. The truth that eats them alive today is simple. They spent so much time painting you as the problem, the villain, the unstable one, the one who needed to be humbled, yet you never became the monster they warned people about. And that's exactly what terrifies them. They were counting on your anger to expose you. They were counting on your bitterness to ruin you. They were counting on your pain to make you lash out, snap, or lose control. They wanted proof that their lies were true. They wanted your reaction to validate their narrative. But your silence didn't break you, it exposed them. Your calm didn't make you weak, it made them uncomfortable. Your discipline, Your ability to choose peace over pettiness became the biggest threat they never expected. They waited for the moment you would explode so they could say, "See, this is who they really are." But instead, you healed, you grew, you walked away, you chose maturity over drama, and every choice you made was a slap to the storyline they created behind your back. What they can't stand is how clean your reputation remained after everything they tried to stain. What burns them is how people eventually saw the truth on their own without you having to defend yourself. They thought destroying your name would destroy your future. Instead, it destroyed their credibility. They played a long game of character assassination, only to end up looking like the ones who were obsessed, dramatic, or insecure. Your strength didn't come from fighting them. It came from refusing to become like them. That's the part they never prepared for. They built a whole identity around being your victim, while they were the ones causing the damage. So when you kept your heart steady and your hands clean, it exposed the whole performance. Now they live with the weight of knowing that the real problem was never you. You proved them wrong simply by being who you truly are. Consistent, grounded, and impossible to imitate. And the reality that haunts them most is this: they didn't lose control of you. They lost control of the story. Number 12, they can't stand. How life keeps blessing you after everything they did to block you. What drives them crazy now isn't your success itself. It's the fact that your blessings kept showing up even after every trap they set, every rumor they spread, every moment they hoped you would break. They can't understand how you kept rising when they spent so much time trying to quietly sabotage your name, your opportunities, your confidence, and even your connections. In their mind, someone who went through what you went through wasn't supposed to glow like this. You weren't supposed to recover. You weren't supposed to rebuild. You weren't supposed to still be chosen. But life kept proving them wrong in ways they were never prepared for. Every time they expected to hear bad news about you, they heard the opposite. Every time they thought you were done, a new door opened for you. Every time they thought you would crumble, you came back stronger, clearer, and more aligned. They still don't understand that the reason their attacks didn't work is because they were fighting something they couldn't touch, your purpose. They were fighting a path that didn't belong to them. They were fighting a destiny that wasn't theirs to alter. Now they're dealing with the part of the story they hate the most. The more they tried to block you, the more obvious it became that you were protected, and not protected in a loud, dramatic, or confrontational way. Protected in a quiet, consistent way that kept restoring everything they tried to take. That's the part that eats them up. Because people expected you to be bitter, broken, and stuck. Instead, you're thriving. Instead, you're glowing. Instead, you're elevating publicly while healing privately. The blessing that hurts them deepest is the one they can't deny. Your life didn't just move on. It leveled up. And the very people who tried to dim your light are now forced to watch it shine brighter than ever. They can't interrupt it. They can't stop it. And what makes them restless at night is knowing that every win you experience is proof that their efforts were powerless. They didn't break you. They only exposed who was truly favored. Number 13, they're terrified because the same truth they hid is now, the truth protecting you. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where the story flips and the people who once tried to bury the truth about you start panicking because that same truth is now working against them. They spent so long twisting narratives, hiding facts, and controlling how others saw you because they knew the real story would expose their guilt. They knew your innocence wasn't just innocence. It was a mirror that highlighted everything they were trying to cover. And now that the truth is emerging on its own, they're scrambling, not because they suddenly care, but because the truth they used as a weapon is now defending you louder than they ever expected. They never thought the truth would survive their lies. They never expected the seeds they planted would wither while the real story stayed alive, waiting for its moment. But that moment is here, and they can't outrun it. The truth is showing up in conversations they aren't part of, in rooms they can't enter, in the minds of people they thought they could manipulate. It's traveling freely now, without their permission, without their edits, without their interference. And for the first time, they're realizing they never had control, they just had temporary influence. What scares them most is that the truth isn't coming back for revenge. It's coming back for correction. It's cleaning your name, clearing your energy, and restoring everything they tried to stain. And the more the truth rises, the smaller their lies look. Their entire strategy depended on people never finding out who you really are. Now people are not only finding out, they're questioning why they didn't see it sooner. They're questioning the source of the lies. They're questioning the motives. And the people who tried to hide the truth are starting to feel the pressure of the spotlight they never wanted. You're not being protected by luck or coincidence. You're being protected by reality, the kind they tried to twist but couldn't kill. The truth took its time, but now that it's here, it's defending you in ways they can't silence. And that's the part they'll never recover from. Number 14, they just realized you were never the one who needed them. They were the one who needed you. The most shocking truth for those who tried to control, manipulate, or undermine you is that they spent all this time thinking you were dependent on them, only to realize that the reality was the exact opposite. They needed your energy, your attention, your empathy, your patience, and your presence more than you ever needed theirs. Every conversation they tried to dominate, every influence they tried to exert, every attempt to make you feel small or indebted, those were all signs of how much they relied on you to validate their existence. They were dependent on you in ways they didn't want to admit, and the higher your protection rises, the clearer that becomes. They thrived on your reactions, your emotions, and the energy you freely gave. They used your time to feed their ego, to feel relevant, and to maintain a sense of control over their own insecurities. But you were never the puppet. You were the power source they were trying to drain. And the moment your protection reached level 7, all the circuits they depended on were cut. Suddenly, they were standing in the same space they once assumed gave them dominance. But it was empty. The energy they expected to manipulate, the leverage they thought they had over you, vanished. You were complete without them. You were thriving without them. And that revelation stings in ways nothing else could. What makes it even worse for them is that they know it. They sense the loss, even if they can't articulate it. They feel the absence of influence in their lives, the lack of emotional fuel they once got from you. The more you flourish, the more they realize that everything they assumed about power, control, and relevance was backwards. You weren't missing anything by removing them. They were missing everything because you no longer gave them access. Level 7 protection flips the narrative entirely. It exposes the imbalance without confrontation. It proves the truth quietly, relentlessly, and undeniably. And the hardest part for them is understanding that this wasn't revenge, this wasn't punishment, this was clarity. They needed you, but you never needed them, and that realization is a shock they can't recover from. Conclusion. Your journey with level 7 protection isn't just about barriers, shields, or spiritual defenses. It's about total transformation. It's about stepping into a space where your peace, your energy, and your growth are no longer negotiable. Every person who doubted you, undermined you, or tried to control you has now been exposed to the reality that they were never in charge. Their access is cut. Their manipulation is flagged. Their words, their actions, and their intentions no longer carry the weight they once did. The universe has rerouted the harm they attempted to send your way, returning it to them without a trace on your life. This level of protection doesn't just shield you, it elevates you. It ensures that your breakthroughs happen in your own timing, in your own space, and without interference from those who never had your best interests at heart. Your presence and absence now hold power. Your silence commands respect, and your very existence quietly reminds everyone of the truth they tried to hide. You've learned to survive under scrutiny, rise above deception, and heal while everyone else scrambled to understand how you kept thriving. You are untouchable not because you're invincible, but because your energy has been recalibrated, your boundaries sharpened, and your spirit aligned with a force that no one can manipulate or sway. And the beauty of this journey is that it's not about revenge, it's about clarity. The people who tried to weaken you now see their own flaws reflected in your growth. They realize that they depended on you more than you ever depended on them, that their schemes were powerless, and that your life continues to elevate regardless of their actions. Your peace and power are the ultimate proof that protection isn't about fear. It's about truth, resilience, and alignment. If this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay connected to more insights like this. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences, and share it with anyone who needs to hear this truth today. Your engagement not only supports the channel, but helps spread awareness to those who are stepping into their own Level 7 protection. Stay strong, stay aligned, and never let anyone diminish the force that you are. God bless you. God